Happy Monday! We are going to be doing lesson 109 today, equivalent fractions. We're actually going to spend 2 days on this lesson. So today we'll learn the first part of this lesson, and then tomorrow we will learn a little bit more about equivalent fractions. So we are going to go through a couple examples, and then we'll do a lot of practice, okay? One thing that you need to know what the word equivalent means. So if I have two equivalent fractions, that means they equal the same. So let's look at these examples right here. We've got all of these circles. We have 1/2 and 2/4 and 3/6. Okay, all of those equal the same. Like pretend that's a pizza. You can see that if I only have 2 pieces and I eat one of them, it's the same as if I have 4 pieces and I eat 2 of them. Do you see how the shaded portion is the same in all of them? But the fractions are different, but the fractions are equivalent. They equal the same thing. Okay, so equivalent fractions, they have the same amount. They equal the same amount. So if you have notes or something that you want to write that down, you are going to need to know what equivalent fractions are. Okay, all right, we'll scroll down a little bit and go down to example number 1. The rectangle on the left has 3 equal parts. We see that 2 parts are shaded, so 2/3 of the figure is shaded. So that should be nothing new. You should be able to look at this rectangle and you know that that is 2/3 is shaded, right? So now on the right, if we broke it into 6 pieces, then how many pieces would be shaded? Well, we could really just do it on this one, right? And we see that those 4 are shaded. So it would look like that. So the answer over here would be 4/6. You can see the answer down there at the bottom as well. But when we talk about making equivalent fractions, that's what we're talking about. I'm going to show you a way to do it in just a minute where you don't have to draw a picture every time. But I want you to see the picture so that you can understand what equivalent fractions are and what I'm talking about. Okay, so over here we have 2/3. Down here we have 2/3 because 3 pieces, 2 of them are shaded. Over here we have 4/6 because we have 6 pieces and 4 of them are shaded, but 2/3 and 4/6 are equivalent fractions. The same amount is shaded. Okay, we're going to move on to example number 2, and then we will practice a few of these. We'll practice making equivalent fractions. Okay, so example number 2, we've got equivalent fractions. You can look at the answer if you want, or I'll just do that. Okay, up at the top, let's look at this one right here. Okay, what fraction of this rectangle is shaded? We've got 2 pieces out of 8 pieces. Over here, we have 1 piece out of 4 pieces. So those are equivalent fractions. Look at it. Pretend it's a pizza or pretend it's a cake, right? If you had 2 pieces out of those 8, it's the same amount as if you only cut it into 4 pieces and you ate one of them. Okay, before we move on to some other practices, I want to show you one way that you can find equivalent fractions. Okay, this is being really slow today. All right, 1/4 equals something, okay? So like the one on the other page, it told you how many pieces were in the other rectangle, but it didn't tell you how many you needed to shade in. So if you saw something that looked like this, and you had to figure out what the top number was, obviously over here we already did that, so we know the answer is 2. But let me show you how you could do that. On your homework, you will see questions that are very similar to this, okay? So we've got 1/4 equals something over 8, okay? This is one thing that I want you to write down is so, so important. What you do to the bottom, you have to do to the top. What you do to the bottom, you have to do to the top. And when we're talking about fractions, we're mostly going to be talking about multiplying and dividing, mostly multiplying. So how do I get from 4 to 8? I'm going to multiply it by something. How do I get from 4 to 8? I'm going to multiply it by 2. So what I do to the bottom, I have to do to the top. So I'm going to multiply that by 2. So what's 1 times 2? No, it's 2. So this is our answer, 2/8. Okay, 2/8. Now we're going to move on to another document, and we are going to do a little bit more practice for you. So we are going to talk about still equivalent fractions. We'll do a few practices with that, and then to prepare you for your test on Friday, we will also practice a few square roots and squares and things like that. Okay? On your homework, I'm looking at your homework right now, so I promise you're going to want to listen to this. You're going to see questions that look, or that I'll just read the first question of the homework for you. We'll do it together. It says, which of the following does not equal 1/4? 1/4. Okay? So if you had your homework in front of you, you would see what the answer choices were, and you would try to figure out which ones equal 1/4 and which ones don't. But let me just give you a hint on an easy way to figure out what some equivalent fractions of 1/4 are. Okay? So I'm going to multiply this by 2, like we did over there, 2/8. I'm going to multiply 1/4 by 3. And I'm going to get 3/12. I'm going to multiply, we'll just do it real small at the bottom, 1/4 times 4. And I'm going to get 4/16. So all of these fractions, we've got 2/8, we've got 3/12, and 4/16. All of those equal 1/4. All of those numbers equal 1/4. Okay? So on your homework, you're probably going to want to figure out what number, like for this one, the fraction is 1/4. For question number 2, the fraction is 1/10. You're going to want to probably write out a few fractions that are equivalent to that fraction. The fraction that we're talking about right now is 1/4. All of these fractions are equivalent to 1/4. That's going to help you to find the one that does not equal 1/4. So for question number 1, one of the answer choices is 2/8. Does that equal 1/4? Yep, so it's not that one because the question says what one does not equal 1/4. One of the answer choices is 4/16. That's not going to be the answer because the question says what fraction does not equal 1/4. And we know that all of these do equal 1/4. Okay, so on your homework, you're going to see a lot of that. You're also going to see a question that says, what fraction is equal to 6/7? What fraction is equal to 6/7? So like I said before, you're going to probably want to multiply the bottom and the top by the same number. Because it's multiple choice, you might want to just look at the answer choices. Okay? The first answer choice is 36/49. Okay? So we are going to try to see, does this 36/49, this fraction equal this fraction? The only way for us to figure that out is to do what we do to the bottom to the top. So how do I get from 7? 7 times what is 49? 7 times 7 is 49. Okay, so what I do to the bottom, I have to do to the top. 6 times 7 is not 36. 6 times 7 is 42. So that means 36/49 does not equal 6/7. It means 42/49 equals 6/7. That is a correct answer. 36/49 does not equal 6/7. Okay, I realize this is a little bit tricky. That's why tomorrow we're going to go over it a little bit more. I want you to get some practice today, and then tomorrow we'll just review even more of this. Okay, on your homework today, you will only see 4 questions about equivalent fractions. The rest are going to be about square roots, squares, and multiplying by multiples of 10. Okay, If you already know everything about square roots and squares and multiples of 10, you are welcome to stop the video now and go start your homework. If you'd like to hang around with me for just about 5 more minutes, I can give you some help with some of those problems. Okay, so first we'll just review what square roots are and what squares are. Okay, so the square root of 49, you've probably seen that before. That means what times what equals 49, and that what needs to be the same number, right? So 7 times 7 is 49, so the square root of 49 is 7. Okay, now if we did what is 7 squared, that means what is 7 times 7, which is 49. Okay, we've gone over these for the last couple months. Really, you only need to memorize 12 of them. You need to know what 1 squared is, what 2 squared is, what 3 squared is, 4 squared, all the way down to 12 squared, which just means 1 times 1 is 1, 2 times 2 is 4, 3 times 3 is 9, 4 times 4 is 16, 5 times 5 is 25, right? All the way down to 12 times 12, which is 144. If you memorize those, then you will know whenever you see something that says 5 squared, you'll know that's 25. Whenever you see something that says, what's the square root of 25? You'll know that it's 5. Okay, so they're kind of the opposites of each other, right? Square roots and squares. So on your homework, you're going to see things that look like, one of the questions is, what is the square root of 49? Which is what we just did. One of the questions is, what is 9 squared plus 3 squared? So let's do that one together. 9 squared plus 3 squared. So we got to do 9 squared first. So 9 times 9 is 81 plus, what's 3 squared? 3 times 3 is 9. So then you know how to do this. 81 plus 9, add them together, you get 90. So the answer is 90. Okay. On your test on Friday, you'll also see something that looks like this, which is why it's on your homework today. Okay. The last thing that we're going to go over, I said stay with me for 5 minutes. It's only been 2 minutes. So we might be done even earlier than 5 minutes. We are going to just talk about multiples of 10. When you're multiplying by multiples of 10, you'll see something like this, 600 times 7. Okay. Sometimes when people see this, they're like, whoa, that's such a big number. I don't know how to do that. But don't fret. I will explain how to do this in a very easy way. Okay? When you see something like this, if it has zeros, you got to make sure that you're multiplying. This only works if you're multiplying. If you see a 0, you can just cross it out. You have 1, 2 zeros you crossed out. The reason you can cross those out is because you're going to put them over here in your answer. You know that these 2 zeros are going to be part of your answer. And then you don't have to do 600 times 7. All you have to do is 6 times 7. 6 times 7 is what? Hopefully you said 42. So your answer is 4,200. Okay? Let me tell you when it gets tricky. You will see something like this. 400 times 5. Okay? This is one that a lot of people mess up. Let me explain why. We're going to do the same thing that we did at the beginning. Cross off 1 0, cross off 2 zeros, put the 2 zeros over here. Okay? And now we need to do 4 times 5. What is 4 times 5? 4 times 5 is 20, not 2. A lot of people just put the 2, and then they still have their 2 zeros there. But 5 times 4 is not 2. 5 times 4 is 20, so don't be afraid to put that 0 there, because 5 times 4 is 20. So you have to put the 2 zeros plus whatever 5 times 4 is, which is 20. Okay? So don't be afraid to do that. You might also see a question that has more than one 0 that you can take away. If we did 80 times 300, okay, we can get rid of 1 0, 2 zeros, 3 zeros. So we've got 1 0, 2 0, 3 0. And now we just do 8 times 3, which is 24. So our answer is 24,000. Okay? That is what is going to be on your homework today. Good luck. And tomorrow we will go over equivalent fractions. Tomorrow I am going to teach something a little bit different than I taught today. Still about equivalent fractions, but it is new information. So please watch the video tomorrow, okay? And we'll review a few things tomorrow as well. And that is all I have for your lesson today. Hope you're having a great Monday, and I will talk to you guys tomorrow.